All right. Call to order the March 5th meeting of the Brentwood Board of Aldermen. If you'd all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Get a roll call, please.
Alderman Dimmitt.
Here.
Alderman Kramer.
Present.
Alderman Leahy.
Here.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Here.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Here.
Alderman Plufka.
Here.
Alderwoman Sim.
Here.
Alderman Weggie.
Here.
Mayor Thornton.
Here. Count 8, so we have a quorum. Item number 3 on the agenda is the approval of this evening's agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda? I have one suggestion. If somebody would be so inclined to make a motion, I would like to move the appointment of the police chief to item number 6 under proclamations.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we move item number
16AI.
16. Yeah, 16A to item number 6 on the agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, is there any objection to approval by acclamation? Seeing none, the agenda will be so approved. Item number 4, consideration and approval of minutes of February 20th of 1980. Is there any changes to the minutes? Are there any objections?
February 20th, 2018.
Oh, sorry, what did I say?
1980.
You did.
That's okay.
You did.
A very good year, I might add.
It was a good year.
Any objection to approving Alderman Plufka?
I have an addition, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is that we're going to talk about it again tonight, and it has to do with page 2, Bill 6183 for the lease agreement with Southern Snow. I brought up the fact that the insurance part of the agreement was wrong and it should have been changed, reflecting $1 million per person and $2 million per occurrence. I was assured at that time that it was going to be. I looked at it tonight, it's still the same. So I'm asking that the minutes be amended to include the fact that I made that reference at the last meeting.
I'm going to take that as a motion.
Thank you.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor of amending the minutes along those lines, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The minutes will be so amended. Approval of the minutes. Any objection to further approval of the amended minutes by acclamation? Seeing none, they'll be so approved. Okay, that brings us to item number 6. The reason I moved this up on the agenda is because we have a number of bills this evening that will cover the content of the appointment, and so I thought it prudent to go ahead and make the appointment, have the board consider the appointment, and then to move on to the bills that are stemmed therefrom. We embarked on the effort to fill the police chief's position about, I say we got started in August actually, when we started designing a process by which we'd pick our new chief. And we got some help from our friends at CPSM on that process. And it was very important to us that we conduct a broad-based search and one that was primarily driven by the residents. And so that's what we did. We opened up the position on a nationwide network. We published it in a number of different places that were designed to bring candidates from all over the country if they so desired. We did, in fact, get over 20 candidates for the position, most of them very well qualified. We then had a citizens committee that reviewed all of the resumes that came in response to that ad. And according to predetermined criteria that we had developed ahead of time, they scored the resumes and reduced the field from over 20 to about 10. Okay? After that, a completely different group of citizens participated in a round of telephone interviews with those 10 people. And as a result of those 12 telephone interviews, again, using pre-designed criteria that were developed prior to the process beginning, they scored those telephone interviews with each of the candidates. And the group of 10 was further narrowed to about 5. Okay? Those 5 were then invited to come here to Brentwood to participate in a one-day assessment center where they completed 3 different exercises that were designed, again, by our friends at CPSM ahead of time, and they were scored according to predetermined criteria that were developed ahead of time in that process. And the people who did most of the scoring were citizens from Brentwood and representatives from law enforcement agencies of neighboring communities. So the chief from Olivet came and helped, the chief from Chesterfield came and helped, the chief from Webster came and helped. And I might add that a chief from each of those communities was also involved at each one of the steps prior that I talked about. So I'd just like to say that we did not take this process lightly. It was not something that we, I don't think that we did all that for our health. I think we did all that because we think it's an extremely important position. Out of that process, we came down to 2 finalists, and the 2 finalists were Major Joe Spees, who is a retired police officer from the city of St. Louis, and our own Jim McIntyre, who's our acting police chief. And then it came down to the mayor having to make a tough choice, and it was a very tough choice. But at the end of the day, there was also a third choice, which is to start the process over. But at the end of the day, I felt that either one of those men could do the job that we needed done here in Brentwood. But I felt that one could do probably the job just a little bit better than the other, and I am tonight appointing Major Joe Spees as the chief of police for the city of Brentwood. So that is my appointment. I've given the Board of Aldermen some background material on Major Spees. The Public Safety Committee had a chance to meet with Mr. Spees. And at this time, I would take a motion to approve the mayor's appointment of Major Joe Spees as the police chief.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the mayor's appointment of Major Joe Spees as the chief of police. Is there any discussion? Alderman Kramer.
Yes, Your Honor. Take the opportunity quickly just to note that we are but one of many, many municipalities in all of St. Louis County. And some would say that some of the business we conduct on a regular basis is maybe inconsequential in that large scope. However, we do have milestones, and this is one of those. And I just want to applaud you and members of the staff of the city of Brentwood for the inclusive and exhaustive and very comprehensive process that we went through to get to this point. It's one of the first times it's happened in quite some time. So I think all the residents that took part in it, as you mentioned, and the residents who are watching us should feel heartened by the process we undertook. And I just want to congratulate you once again and thank you for taking us through the process.
Thank you. Alderman Plufka.
I would echo those sentiments and say that I really felt part of the process all the way through. I thought you went out of your way to keep us informed of where we were at and tried it from the very beginning and as far as possible, made the process as transparent as it could be going forward. I want to also just mention to Jim McIntyre, I've been the chairman of the Public Safety Committee for a few years now, and so I have the privilege of meeting with our chiefs on a monthly basis and discussing with them how they handle both the fire department and the police department in the city of St. Louis. And I found that Jim's efforts with regard to his role as interim chief, he was professional, responsible, and very proactive, and I found him to be nothing but just absolutely professional during that entire time, and I want to thank him for his service as interim chief.
You're here. Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call, please.
Alderman Dimmitt,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Weggie.
Yes. I count 8 ayes and no nays, so unanimous approval. Thank you very much. And I do want to say, Jim, thank you very much for the job you did as an acting chief. I know it was not an easy job, and you stepped in, you filled the role beautifully. And one of the things that I'm most excited about this decision going this way, and I know it can't be your favorite part, but we get the advantage of retaining your experience and your abilities and having somebody else very talented join us as well. So, thank you.
Just in case someone asks, may we have the spelling of the, is it SP?
SPEISS, I believe. Oh, I before E except after C?
SPIE.
Unless it's one of the annoying rules that I always forget. SPIESS.
Two S's, okay. Thank you.
Let's see, item number 7, we have no public hearing. We have a bid this evening, and it's, let's see, environmental due diligence. Bola?
Thank you, Mayor Thornton. As part of the Manchester Renewal Project, we have approximately 50 parcels that the city would be looking to acquire. And part of this process requires that we do an environmental due diligence. It's called Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 requires that we review the historical property records, research the land use, conduct interviews with current and prior owners to determine the use of the site, do an inspection of the site, determine whether there are any hazardous waste material, make sure that we review, if we find any, against regulatory environmental records. And the reason why we do Phase 1 and Phase 2 is that if there are hazardous material on either one of the locations that the city acquires, then it will be up to the city to clean that up after the fact. We solicited 3 proposals, one from Terracon Inc., Environmental Operations Inc., and Geotechnology Inc. Of the 3, 2 were the lowest bid. However, one of the 2 did not include the cost for Phase 2. Therefore, the recommendation is for a master agreement with Terracon Inc. in the amount it ranges for both Phase 1 and Phase 2 between $127,500 and $152,500. There is an ordinance on the agenda tonight later on for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Alderman Leahy.
In our earlier workshop, sir, we discussed the potential of looking at properties and picking up, and I thought we had whittled that number down between 22 and 24. How did we get back up to 50?
I'm not certain that we shared all the properties with the board, did we?
Yes, because I
We did?
specifically asked that question as to what we were doing on acquisition, and when we went through the proposal,
Right.
I kept looking at the cost of what one consultant said we could acquire them at lower than market values and stuff, and kept going, then our numbers don't match, and we've got it down to a 22 to 24 number. Now we're back up to 50 all of a sudden.
Do you know if that included partials?
This would include everything.
No, I'm asking,
And I don't
do you
have a
know if
list
the
in front of
23 or
me.
24 included partials? Because there are a
No,
number.
that we defined them as property acquisitions. We didn't say.
Okay, well, there are a
easements or
number of
anything.
properties where we wouldn't need to acquire the entire parcel, just a part of the parcel.
Okay, if we're
I don't know if
looking,
those were
if we're
included or
back
not.
to looking at 50 potential sites that we may end up having to acquire,
Yeah.
how does that affect the gross value of what we're looking at on this project at the 71.2 million or cost that we were looking at? Is that number now going to grow?
I should think it would be more, but I don't know that just because we've asked for possibility of up to 50 properties to be tested, that we're going to actually test 50 properties.
My hope is.
We're only going to test the ones we actually buy and need.
But I'm trying to make sure that we keep the scope of what we're doing in focus, because we still have a shortfall of cash, and I want to find out how we're going to bridge that shortfall.
Yep. I
But if we
understand.
keep going and expanding the project, we've got a bigger problem financially.
Understand. Alderman Dimmitt?
Yeah, just to follow up on Alderman Leahy, he said I had the same question. As I recall the map, as we looked at the property south of Manchester Road, there's like 23 properties, that was my recollection. Now, if the explanation is that that didn't include partial pieces of
Partial.
property, then is this just a first reading tonight, or is this?
No, we're going first.
It is, I believe it is just first reading tonight.
Okay.
Is it first or second?
First reading.
I was
It's
just
first
like-
reading only.
I thought it was just first, I'd just like
Yeah.
some clarification on that, I don't need it tonight.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, well, it could also be, well, I don't want to speculate, but I'm thinking that when we put out the RFP, we may have used, as many properties as we thought we might acquire in the process to do the RFP. I mean, we're not issuing them a blank check to go out and do a whole bunch of properties. We're doing, we're only going to actually test the ones that we need and authorize. So it's not like this authorizes us to go do something we're not already doing.
No, that wasn't my concern. I was just confused. I
Sure.
was trying to
No,
reconcile
I
the two
understand.
numbers.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear to the Board of Aldermen that this isn't licensed to go out and purchase 50 properties or anything like that. So, at least I'm not taking it that way. Good? Any more questions? Okay, we'll take that up at the first reading of bills. All right. Item number 9 on the agenda is the hearing of any matter of public interest upon the request of any person present. If anyone would like to come forward and address the Board of Aldermen, you'll have 3 minutes to state your piece. Don't all rush up at once, we'll have a line. All righty then, we're going to close the public hearing. You'll get another chance in about 40 minutes. We don't have any unfinished business this evening, I don't think. Item number 11 on the agenda, bills to be given a first reading only. Mr. City Attorney, could we have item 11A, bill number 6185, please?
Bill number 6185, first reading, an ordinance approving an agreement with Terracon Consultants Incorporated for environmental due diligence services for the Manchester Renewal Project.
Okay, Alderman Kramer, do you have a synopsis?
Yes, Your Honor. Bill number 6185 covers that Phase 1 and 2 environmental site assessment report for the Manchester Renewal Project. It's an ordinance approving an agreement with Terracon Consultants Incorporated for environmental due diligence services for the Manchester project. Environmental due diligence proposals were solicited from 3 different engineering firms for Phase 1 and 2 environmental site assessment services related to the acquisition of approximately 50 sites, as we've discussed briefly. 3 proposals were submitted by Terracon Environmental Operations Incorporated and Geotechnology Incorporated. The lowest and best bid for Phase 1 and 2 environmental site assessment services was submitted by Terracon. Total cost for the service will range from $127,500 to $152,500. Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental site assessments are part of the due diligence in knowing what you're buying. The cost to have the assessments is relatively minimal when compared to remediation or cleanup costs, such as digging up or removing soil. It lets you learn about potential issues before you're in the chain of title. So once you're in that chain of title, you may be responsible under the federal law for cleaning up the property if there are environmental hazards, for example, even if you didn't cause them. In addition, it establishes that you've done all appropriate inquiries, which lets you establish the innocent purchaser defense against liability under the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation and Liability Act, otherwise known as CERCLA. CERCLA isn't fault-based, but it does contain an innocent purchaser defense. And part of that, you have to do all the appropriate inquiries into the past use of the property you're buying. It's especially important here, given that many of the properties the city is looking into buying have been used for industrial type of uses for many years. Additionally, CERCLA isn't based simply on ownership, so we may need to do similar Phase 1 and 2 uses and reports for properties where the city winds up acquiring only an easement interest. Staff recommends a positive consideration by the Board of Aldermen this evening for a motion to approve a master agreement with Terracon Incorporated, part of the language in Bill number 6185.
All right, thank you. Let's see. We had a discussion of this just a few minutes ago. Are there any other questions? Alderman Dimmitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 2, the bid tabulation, I'm assuming that's made part of this contract, because that is for Terracon. Is that right?
That's correct.
And as I'm reading that, it's Phase 1 is $1,750 per legal parcel. So I guess that would, getting to Alderman Leahy's point.
So
if we're
that
talking about
number would
50
change
or-
if it was less than 50, but this
Right.
calculation is based on 50.
Oh, okay. So 50, if it were 50 parcels, it'd be
Right.
50 times
Exactly.
1,750.
Right.
And then under Phase 2, each boring cost ranges from $800 to $1,300, and they're saying approximately 1 to 4 borings per identified REC. Do we know what that is? Is that per parcel or?
Recognized environmental condition. That's what REC stands for. I couldn't
We don't know
define
what that
that
is?
for you. No.
Okay. I'm just trying to get ballpark, but that would come under the line item on the Manchester renewal?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So at 800 to 1,300 times 50, you get that range of $40,000 to $65,000.
Okay. And that's just for the phase 2?
Correct.
Because phase 1 could be,
87,500.
great, thank you.
Alderman Lockmiller.
I'm not sure who to direct this to, but in the synopsis, there's something mentioned about the innocent purchaser defense. Somebody educate me on what that is. Is there anybody here?
I think that's a great one for our city attorney. That's why he makes the big bucks.
The mere fact I don't know the answer will not stop me from expressing an opinion.
That's why he makes the big bucks.
Generally, I think it's probably the concept of a safe harbor. If you do due diligence and have reasons to be assured that you were not involving yourself in an environmental condition when you acquired the property, then you have some insulation from otherwise absolute liability if you have held any ownership interest in the property. That promotes people discovering conditions at an earlier phase, at an earlier time, and thereby bringing them to a point of being resolved by encouraging buyers to learn of them. And if you do the testing and it seems to be clean and it is reasonably effective testing, then you will not be among the culpable parties. I would assume that kind of description of a provision would be essentially that sort of safe harbor.
Thank you. Sounded pretty good to me.
Now, whether it is or not, I have no idea.
Any further questions? I actually am somewhat painfully aware of this topic. For the members of the board, the Phase 1 survey is essentially a record survey. It goes through and looks at the uses that the known uses that the land has been put to. And then there are certain red flag uses that come up that indicate that more environmental testing may be necessary. So print shops, gasoline stations, dry cleaners, my property, any of the above would need further testing, which then usually requires the more expensive boring machines and so on and so forth. So the record search is why they can bid the record search quite easily, right? They simply do the database search and prepare a report. The borings and so forth on the ERC or RECs, the recognized environmental conditions, that's when you can't really, you take a boring, you take 4 borings, and then you figure out that based on those 4 borings, you need to do 6 more, or in my case, 20 more. But anyway, yeah, so that, that's when the never-ending horror of environmental compliance comes in.
One more question.
Yep.
Can you do, with these parcels we're talking about, just a blanket Phase 1 prior to even entering into a contract? And just to see what you've got ahead of you?
You probably could, but I don't know that it would save you anything. I mean, it's really a fairly exhaustive search. It's kind of like title searching. You could conceivably do a title search on a whole area, but it doesn't really save you anything. You have to go through each title chain carefully. That's my understanding. Again, I won't let the fact that I don't know the answer keep me from expressing an opinion. That's my understanding of it from, that's, when I questioned the bill, that's what my environmental engineer told me. So there you go. Any further questions on this bill? All right, seeing none, we'll move to item 11B. Mr. City Attorney, could we have bill number 6186, please?
Bill number 6186, first reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor, acting on behalf of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, to execute an agreement with the police chief of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Alderman Kramer, do you have synopsis?
Well, yes, Your Honor, the synopsis is equal to the title of the bill. And so there you have it.
Okay, well, so for those of you, I believe this is sort of mine, so I'll do it up. What we've done is we've prepared an employment agreement for our police chief. The gist of the employment agreement is to lay out the expectations of the city with respect to his employment and to lay out the terms and conditions under which we might end that employment, among other things, and so forth. So, the idea is that for a position like this, it's probably a good idea. And there are a limited number of positions within the city that we have the people under employment agreements. So this is the employment agreement we put together for our police chief. I think I emailed everybody a copy of that over the weekend, if I'm not mistaken, so you had a chance to review it. I don't know that I can answer every question, but I'd certainly be happy to try. And Mr. O'Keefe was certainly involved in drafting that document, so he can as well. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move along. Item number 12 is bills to be given a second reading. 12A is bill number 6183. Mr. City Attorney, can we have second reading, please?
Bill number 6183, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance approving a lease agreement with Raymond A. Davis and Karen S. Davis, doing business as Southern Snow, for a portion of land in Memorial Park.
Thank you. Alderman Kramer, synopsis.
Surely, Your Honor, Bill number 6183, the lease agreement with Southern Snow for the concession stand there at our Memorial Park. They've been renting the grassy area near the parking lot at Memorial Park, as you may know, for the last 12 years for the purpose of placement of Southern Snow's trailer for concession sales. Current lease ends May of this year. The Parks and Recreation Department has a good working relationship with Southern Snow. The area where the trailer is located is always clean and well maintained. They've been prompt with their rental payments. The only utility that they use for the trailer is electricity, which Ameren UE bills Southern Snow directly. Current lease includes a monthly rent of $150 per month from May through October, or in the city, $900 per year. This was increased with the new agreement in 2014. Staff currently recommends keeping the monthly rental at the same rate, $150 per month. Our Public Works Committee has reviewed the agreement and unanimously recommends it be presented to the Board of Aldermen this evening with a positive recommendation. This is Bill number 6183.
All right, thank you. Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, Your Honor.
I'm going to take that as a motion to perfect bill number 6183. Is there any discussion? Alderman Plufka.
Building on what I know was a scintillating conversation with regard to the minutes for last meeting, under paragraph 8, under insurance, I would again point out that we need to change $2 million resulting to any one person to $1 million to any one person, and from $1 million to $2 million per occurrence.
Shall I take that as an amendment?
I would like to make that as an amendment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend the contract included as part of the bill to include insurance in the amount of $1 million per person, $2 million per occurrence where applicable. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? All right. Any further amendments to bill number 6183? For example, to prohibit the sale of ice cream or something like that. Not going to happen, huh? All right, well, we'll take our chances. If there's no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call, please.
Alderman Dimmitt,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Weggie.
Yes.
Bill number 6183 passes, and upon signature of the mayor, becomes ordinance 4824.
All right. Item 12B is bill number 6184. Mr. City Attorney, give a second reading by title only, please.
Bill number 6184 is not coming up on the screen. An ordinance to enter into a professional service agreement with Cook and Riley LLC for reviewing citywide sales tax revenues and authorizing the mayor, city administrator to execute a contract.
Thank you. Alderman Kramer, synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor, reviewed and out of the Ways and Means Committee, Bill number 6184 covers a professional services agreement and is an ordinance to authorize the mayor to enter into or execute a professional services agreement with Cook and Riley LLC, that for reviewing of citywide sales tax revenues. In 2015, the Board of Aldermen approved a confidential agreement between Cook and Riley LLC and the City of Brentwood for monitoring services of sales tax collections received in the Brentwood Meridian project. This project was also known as Area T8 RPA. The agreement is for a citywide sales tax. The Ways and Means Committee has reviewed the agreement contained herein, and a unanimous motion was made for it to be forwarded to the Board of Aldermen with a positive recommendation. Bill 6184.
All right, thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect.
Make a motion to perfect Bill number 6184 into ordinance form.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board perfect Bill number 6184 into ordinance form. Is there any discussion on the bill? Was there some controversy over who made the second there?
I just
I
thought-
think it was Alderman
I just
Sims.
It was
thought
definitely
I better
Ward
get in
2.
there.
I know
I just want to be on record,
Well, you're on the roll. You were here. Is there any discussion on the ordinance? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call, please.
Alderman Demmett.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Yes.
Alderman Plufka.
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims.
Yes.
Alderman Weggie.
Yes.
Bill number 6184 passes, and upon signature of the mayor, becomes ordinance 4825.
All right, thank you. Move on to item 13 on the agenda. The bill's to be given a first and second reading, and we have one this evening. It's bill number 6187. Mr. City Attorney, can we have the first reading by title only, please?
Bill number 6187, first reading, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of real property located at 2814 Breckenridge Road.
Thank you. Alderman Kramer, synopsis?
Yes, Your Honor. Bill 6187 covers that property acquisition in Breckenridge Industrial Court, 2814 Breckenridge Road. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of that real property at that address. And the further explanation contains these words: it's reasonable and necessary to acquire the .82 acre parcel for the purpose of enhancing protection against flooding, revitalizing a critical commercial corridor of the city of Brentwood, and in order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens and people of the city of Brentwood. The city has concluded its due diligence in this area and review of the following: title commitment, Alta NSPS land title survey, the Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental site assessment reports, appraisal report, and geophysical survey report, all of this property. None of the reports have revealed any readings that should impact the use of the property, but it should be noted, as stated in section 1.4G, the trustee of the subdivision may levy an annual assessment for upkeep, which the city would be responsible for upon acquisition of that property. When attorney spoke with the subdivision trustee, the city was advised that nothing is owed on the property currently. There was, however, an assessment last year for road repairs which has been paid. Before closing, the city will request a letter from the trustee to confirm no assessments are owed. Also, section 2 states the survey shows 13 parking spots in front of the property that are located partially in the right-of-way of Breckenridge Industrial Court. This may not be an issue because the building is already constructed and parking may not be a concern at the property. The city will ask the title company for closing to delete the exceptions in the title commitment as stated in the due diligence summary. Finally, as to the cause number 121551 of the St. Louis County Circuit Court, the title company was unable to provide the city with a copy of the document. However, some of the other documents and the survey refer to that part of the existing storm sewer easement horseshoe sewer. Document related to it, I believe it's book 397, page 533, is a condemnation order for a sewer. The city of Maplewood was the condemning authority. The plats for the industrial park refer to the easement area as, quote, existing easement for horseshoe sewer as shown on Webster Grove Sanitary Sewer District drawings, end quote, and is, quote, existing storm sewer per book 397, page 533, and cause 121-551, end quote. Obviously, without having the documents to review, the attorneys cannot tell the city exactly what it is, but all the other evidence suggests they have a sewer. The closing date will be March 19th, 2018. The city is ready to fund on that date, and all the details are located in bill number 6187.
All right, thank you. We actually, we were planning on having an attorney from Armstrong Teasdale here, but I think he's scheduled to show up around 8. So
7:45.
unless you want to wait for him, Bola and I can do our best to answer any questions the board may have. Alderman Plufka.
The real estate sale contract that accompanies Bill 6187
Yep.
lists a closing date of February 23rd.
Well, initially, it was going to be February 23rd until we found out we had to do a Phase 2.
Okay.
So we requested that the owners.
Yeah, that
allow
was
us to
extended
push
by
it
an
back.
addendum. I don't know if it's attached.
Right.
I didn't
It
see the
probably-
addendum.
no,
I
we
had to
didn't.
sign, I remember I had to sign the addendum.
It's not
Okay.
attached.
So do we know when the closing date is?
It's
19 of March.
19th.
19th.
That's why there has been an amendment to the agenda tonight. Also, on the warrant list, we amended that as well as, in the synopsis, to include that so that the board would authorize the remaining balance of that $420,000 appraised value of this property. $10,000 was paid in earnest deposit back in, I think, last fall when the board initially approved us proceeding forward.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Alderman Waggy.
Just for clarification, so is this in Brentwood?
So actually, no, that's a very good question, and I'll point out to the board and everybody in the room. So this is actually the first parcel on your left as you proceed south across the Breckenridge Bridge. So it's in Webster. And that's why the condemning authority on the sewer thing was a Webster Grove. So this is actually property in Webster. The plan would be that when we finally complete our project and decide what to do, we can either sell off whatever part of the property that we don't need or ask the city of Webster to participate in deeding it over to Brentwood. That has happened in other areas along the creek. as
Kind
you
of like
know.
the Oxbow?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Mr. City Attorney, can we have the second reading of Bill number 6187 by title only, please?
Bill number 6187, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of real property located at 2814 Breckenridge Road.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect.
Your Honors, I wish to make a motion to perfect Bill 6187 into ordinance form.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Alderman Lockmiller. It is moved and seconded that the Board of Aldermen perfect Bill number 6187 in ordinance form. Is there any discussion? Alderman Leahy.
We did a Phase 2 on this property.
We
Did
did.
the Phase 2 find any environmental issues that we will have a land cleanup or any of that nature?
No,
It came back all clean.
it came back within requirements that would not require us to clean it, if that makes sense.
It's cautious.
There's nothing to be cautious about. That's why we put it on the agenda. It will not require the city to incur any additional expense to clean any of the hazardous material. That could have been on there, that weren't. Let me say it.
Thank you.
So in other words, we've sailed into that safe harbor.
Exactly.
That was nice.
Yeah, well, you know. Got to do something to entertain myself up here. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call, please.
Alderman Dimmitt,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Waggy.
Yes.
Bill number 6187 passes, and upon signature of the mayor, becomes ordinance 4826.
All right, thank you. That takes us to item 14 on the agenda. I don't believe we have any resolutions this evening. Item number 15, accounts against the city. Alderman Dimmitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had an opportunity to review the warrant list that's in front of you, and you notice really the only change from the packet that you received last week was the addition of the property, the closing that we just talked about, the amount of $410,000, which then brings it up to $450,844.76. So I would make a motion to approve the warrant list in that amount.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the warrant list in the amount of, I'm sorry, how much was it?
$450,844.76.
That amount. Is there any discussion? Alderman Waggy.
Can I just get clarification on the police vehicle? So we're debiting the $50,000, but there's also a $14,837 insurance.
Alderman Dimmitt, you want to take that one?
Sure. Yeah, that is, Alderman Weggie, that's correct. The total charge was $17,300. So the warrant list shows that we're paying out $15,900, which is correct, but we're getting an insurance check back
Okay.
in the amount of $14,800. So the total amount that we're paying for that is about $1,100.
Okay, all right.
Not including I think the deductible, which was $2,500. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Leahy.
I'd like to discuss the St. Louis County Board of Elections paragraph that's here. It is my understanding, first, the bill's cheaper than it was on the election that we ran in November, which cost us $10,000. This one's only at 98 or 5,800. But according to the last sentence, we have 2.2 million voters in 2017 and 1.2 million in 2018. And based on this, it leads me to believe that population is part of the formula base to work with. And when I called the St. Louis County Election Commission this afternoon, they only have 7,003 245 registered voters in St. Louis County, because 2 million and 1 million and losing a million in a year doesn't make sense. So how did we get to this paragraph?
So in front of you,
Yes, according to this paragraph.
St. Charles Group.
in front of you, you will find a email
There's been a secession that I'm
from
not aware
the
of.
St. Louis County Election Board where they explain how they come up with this number. The 2 million number that Alderman Leahy references was for the April 4, 2017 total registered voters. So total registered voters does not include just St. Louis County. It includes every district that has an election on April 4th.
Can I help perhaps? Hold on.
Go ahead.
Not likely.
It is the cumulative number of registered voters for each entity that's on the ballot. So St. Louis County may have 400,000 registered voters. Brentwood has 1,000 registered voters. The cumulative total is 401,000, even though we're among the 400,000 that are in St. Louis County.
So there's a lot of double counting
The
going on.
apportionment is based on the cumulative total of registered voters involved in that election. And last year, St. Louis County had a measure on the ballot, which is, of course, not just voted on in the unincorporated areas, it's voted on countywide. You take that off, and it changes the ratios for each city in a dramatic way.
Thank you, sir.
Is that good?
Much better.
All right. Wow, that was helpful, thank you.
Do you have questions? Okay.
Good. Any other discussion? Alderman Dimmitt,
No, I'm
you're all right? Okay, so the motion on the table is the approval of the warrant list as presented. Roll call, please.
Alderman Dimmitt,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill. Yes. Alderman Plufka,
Yo, yes, I'm sorry.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Wade.
Yes.
Sorry, there could have been, the confusion could have been caused by the fact that the motion was in fact on the floor and not the table. So, now that we're all settled on that one. The bills are paid, the motion carries, and 8 ayes, 0 nays, so we can pay our bills. Under my report this evening, so item number 16A is the reports of the mayor. Under my report this evening, I just want to tell everybody that choosing the police chief was probably the hardest thing I've done so far as mayor. It's a very, very important part of what we do, providing public safety services to our citizens. And quite frankly, it's one of those ones that you really don't want to screw up. And I really hope that I haven't done that. But I can tell you that, why I told you so much about the process that we went through is I think it did really get us to the two best candidates for the job. And it got us to people who are really highly qualified and so forth. So I feel very good about it. And a lot of the people who participated in that process gave us feedback and told us that actually the process that we went through was probably, they really learned a lot from going through it. So they really appreciated it, and it was probably more comprehensive than many of the other municipalities around that went through similar searches recently. So I guess that's my way of saying it was not an easy decision. I really hope that everybody involved will get behind our new police chief. I suspect that it will take him a while to get his bearings and so forth, but at some point I would expect that he's going to start, leading our police force in a direction, and I would hope that everybody involved can get behind that direction and for the benefit of everybody. So that's what I've got. Alderman Kramer.
Your Honor, in light of the appointment approved but the pending employment agreement, when would the first date we would see him?
So I believe the date that we've set is March 12th, which is a week from today. So I think Joe's going to start work on March 12th.
So we would sign the agreement ahead of, and we would approve it on the 19th? Is that because the second?
He will sign it if he's here that evening or the day after.
But we approve it on the 19th?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
It'll be effective as of his first day of employment,
Okay.
regardless.
Thank you.
All right, Public Safety Committee, Alderman Plufka.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At our regular meeting, which was last Wednesday, we listened to our chiefs and our municipal judge who were invited to come and talk about the dispatch with ECDC over the last 3 years, talk about their experience, how it impacts how we deal with prisoners, how we dispatch our fire, how we dispatch our police. We also heard from ECDC, actually, during that meeting. We're going to have a special meeting of the Public Safety Committee this Wednesday where the committee itself is going to continue that conversation within the committee to try to determine if we can come to some consensus as to whether we continue with ECDC or whether we do something else. That meeting will be at 5:30? 5:30 right here in 2 days. Thank you.
All right, Public Works, Alderman Lockmiller.
Next meeting is right here, Wednesday, March 14th at 4:30. We're going to hear from our Public Works Director, our Parks and Rec Director on what he's got planned for Brentwood Days as well as the rest of this year. And we're going to take up the issue that Alderwoman O'Neill asked us to take up regarding Brentwood Forest and the sewer lateral program. So that ought to be a hoot.
We're going to get in the muck.
All right, March 14th, if you want a hoot, come on up here, we got one for you. Director of Planning and Development, Director Kirkemeyer.
Good evening. I just have a very brief update on the Manchester Road corridor enhancements. As all of you know, we had a series of open houses the end of February where we invited the entire public, but we certainly targeted all of the business and property owners along Manchester Road who have frontage along Manchester Road, and explained to them what MoDOT's projects and plans were for Manchester Road, as well as what we want, as the city of Brentwood, wanted to do for additional enhancements. So the open houses, I thought, were well attended. We had over 30 parties that attended the open houses. And now I just wanted to let you know we are moving into phase 2 next week. So staff has been working with CBB on, now since we've heard from a lot of the businesses and property owners, we're looking at how we can maybe come up with various alternatives if everybody would work together, how we could address some different access management and parking issues. So we've been having work sessions, CBB and staff kind of drafting some alternatives. And so next week, phase 2 will be, we've had the whole Manchester corridor now identified into zones, and we will be meeting in smaller groups with the business owners and property owners next week, and really, encouraging them and saying if we can all really work together, we're going to have a much better project for that. So we'll keep you updated and let you know how those second rounds of meetings go. But again, the time frame's tight. We have to get everything basically done within the next 3 weeks or so. But that's the update. Does anyone have any questions?
Alderman Plufka.
Just about the comprehensive plan,
The comprehensive plan, we have we have 2 chapters yet. We're still making some final revisions to, and we were looking at possibly getting everything back and targeting March. Maybe the Planning and Zoning Commission would kind of finalize things. But their meeting is next week, but it falls during the spring break with the school district and so forth. So we're basically going to try to get everything wrapped up in April.
So the idea would be it would come to us maybe at the end of April or maybe May?
So they will have one more public hearing and vote. The Planning and Zoning Commission will vote on the approval of the comprehensive plan. And actually, then the plan will be presented to the Board of Aldermen, but it is the role of the Planning and Zoning Commission to actually adopt the plan.
Got it.
So we will be making a full presentation to the board after the Planning and Zoning Commission takes action on the document.
Again, you think that's April or you think that's May?
I'm thinking April, yes.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Alderman Wade,
Anything
one quick
else?
question.
Sure.
There was also an open house on March 24th or 27th on Manchester Road corridor improvements coming up. Did I misread that? I know you had a couple
24th
for
or
business
27th.
owners
27.
on the 27th, correct?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, that would be, okay, yes, thanks for reminding me of that. MoDOT's public hearing,
Right.
which they have to have in order to proceed, is the open house is scheduled, I don't have it in front of me, but the March 27th does sound
I think it's
correct.
the same day
Is
as
It'll-
the school, the school board forum.
Is that
So-
analogous to the open houses that we've been having for the stakeholders on Manchester?
Yes,
and
because the
everybody else?
MoDOT project will proceed,
Right.
with or without our enhancement plans. So that, again, is something that they are going to hold, and that will actually be located here in Brentwood, the public hearing. It will be over at the school district offices over at 1201 Hanley Industrial Court. And the hours of that open house, or public hearing is going to be from 12 to 7, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was noon to 7. I read.
So, and that's,
Alderman Dimock?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Lisa, next week's planning and zoning meeting,
yes,
the comp plan is not going to be on the agenda?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank you. Actually, I'm going to skip back to the mayor's report because I can. So I can't believe I forgot to mention this. So but anyway, it's really good news. So we found out this afternoon. Lisa's looking at me like, about time you got around to that. Yeah. So we found out actually this morning. We began the day with some good news. So we found out from MoDOT that our application for $4.1 million in matching funds was approved.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, the tunnel under Manchester Road.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I want to thank Karen, Lisa, Dan, and Eric and Bola for all the hard work that they did on that. $4.1 million, not bad at all. And that's going to make that tunnel under Manchester Road a reality. So excellent job to all of you. That's really great. And, I will reiterate to the board, I think we're just getting started on seeking out grants and things that we might take advantage of. And if this is any indication, I think we will continue to succeed along that way, or at least I hope we will. So anyway, yeah, $4.13 million, not bad.
Is that just the Brentwood piece of it? 'Cause I know
So
we
that's the
received-
Brentwood piece, yeah. So it was overall, it was a $5-point-something million grant that in Kirkwood and Brentwood applied for it jointly, and the Brentwood piece was 4.1. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Anyway, yeah, I can't believe I forgot to say that during my report. I'm like, what am I thinking? I got that news at 8 o'clock this morning, and a lot's happened since then. All right, so Ways and Means Committee, Alderman Dimock.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Our next meeting will be on the 14th at 6 o'clock here. So we've got Public Works at 4:30, we'll be at 6, and Planning and Zoning at 7. 3 meetings for the price of one.
Drinks at 8:30.
During spring break.
Gotcha. Mr. City Attorney.
No report, sir.
And Madam City Administrator.
Nothing,
Madam Excise Commissioner.
no report.
Madam Library Liaison.
Yes, I have an invitation.
All right.
Tomorrow night is the monthly library board meeting downstairs in the library. And any visitor is welcome. It begins at 6:30. You may come and listen or come and speak, but you are invited.
All right, thank you. I don't have anything from the Municipal League this evening. I do have to go back to the mayor's one more time. This was put right in front of me, and I just didn't say it. We are having an annual statewide tornado warning test on March 6th at 10 a.m. So we will be part of the statewide annual test on March 6th at 10 a.m. So if you hear the sirens go off March 6th at 10 a.m., Don't go running for the shelter, anti-M, or anything like that. Just ignore them. It's the test. Apparently, if there is inclement weather that day, we will see the test. I'm sorry?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, tomorrow.
It just blew right by you.
Thank you, Patty, for waking me up. Are we almost done? We should be, right? Do we have any announcements this evening? Alderman Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Couple of things going on this month. First of all, Sunday morning, the 11th of March, we spring forward for daylight savings time. So reset your clocks, 2 a.m. becomes 3 a.m. But most importantly, check the batteries in your smoke detectors, and let's keep those very much current and active so that we don't have loss of life. The Ward 3 meeting for the month of March will be Tuesday night, the 27th of March at 7 o'clock here in the council room, and all are invited. Thank you, sir.
Other announcements? Alderman Dimmitt.
Ward 1 meeting next Tuesday here at 6:30.
There you go.
Right here, 6:30, Ward 1. Other announcements? Seeing none, new business. We have one item of new business this evening that I'm aware of. Let's see, it's a request for authorization to engage Daniel Jones and Associates for the preparation of a capital asset schedules for the city of Brentwood. And a motion authorizing the city administrator to enter into and execute this letter of engagement. So I guess without further ado, I'll ask for the motion and then we'll go from there.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that the board authorize the city administrator enter into and execute the agreement with Daniel Jones Associates, and Alderman Kramer has the synopsis for us.
Yes, Your Honor. For the City of Brentwood's financial policies and procedures, an annual physical inventory must be done of all capital assets $5,000 and over. In the past, the Finance Department used the part-time services of a retired finance director to complete that project. Hours spent by her on the task usually took 3 to 4 days. She resigned in the spring of 2017, was not replaced, which meant this project was put on hold, but has to be completed as part of our 2017 audit. The Board of Aldermen did approve the hiring of a staff accountant for the fiscal year 2018, and that new hire process is near completion. In the meantime, in order to comply with the mandate in a timely fashion, we contacted the firms of Showalter Jaburi, as well as Daniel Jones and Associates, also city's auditors, to see if they could assist. Showalter and Jaburi declined, but we did get a response from Daniel Jones and Associates, affirmative. They assured us that for this type of service, they could do the work and still be used as our independent auditors, but it's not part of their regular scope of the regular auditing services. When compared to the staff hours used to complete the project in the past, Daniel Jones and Associates' estimate seems reasonable, and based on the need for this to be done quickly and the time constraints within the Finance Department, staff recommends the hiring of Daniel Jones and Associates to provide the service to the city.
All right, is there any further discussion of the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, it's unanimous. We will approve the city administrator entering into that letter of agreement with Daniel Jones Associates. Item number 19, hearing of any matter of public interest upon the request of any person present. If you'd like to come forward and address the Board of Aldermen, you'll have at least 3 minutes to do so. If you can fight your way to the front of the room. Okay. We're moving on. Item number 20, we have a closed meeting on our agenda this evening. I would entertain a motion to enter into a closed session pursuant to 610-21-1, 610-21-3, and adjourn therefrom.
Your Honor, I move that we go into closed session pursuant to Revised Missouri Statutes, Chapter 610, 021, subsection 1, and 610, 021, subsection 3, and adjourn from closed session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board enter into the closed session pursuant to those statutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call, please.
Alderman Dimmitt?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
Yes.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Let's go upstairs in 5.